He said, up to this point, Lonzo Ball has been a bust. Up to this point, why do you feel like he's been a bust up to this point?
I just think that this isn't a player that people saw at UCLA or thought. I mean, that ugly shot was going in college. So when that ugly shot's not going in, it makes you look worse. There's no doubt about it. Nobody says he's going to score 40 points a night. But I don't think anybody thought he would be shooting historically low for a rookie in the NBA. And yes, I know he has a couple of triple doubles and people are excited about that. But I just don't think he's as advertised. I think, Magic said he's going to be the face of the franchise. There's fourth quarters he's not playing in. There's other things defensively he's got a lot to work on. I just expected a little bit of a better player than we've gotten so far, and I think that's why you could say he's a bust so far. Because if you also look and say, if you could say Ben Simmons is going to be the rookie of the year after 15 games and he's this and that, and everybody's raving about him and nobody's saying, well, you can't rave about Ben Simmons because it's only 15 games, then you can look at Lonzo the same way and say, you could say he hasn't played well to this point for the most part, and that right now he's a bust. I think that that's fair because you can't have it both ways.
To me, with Lonzo, the thing that will concern me as a Lakers fan is he's not as aggressive as he was at UCLA. Do you think because from game one, basically Patrick Beverly took his heart? So you think
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if he took his heart and can't get it back, but I think college is totally different from the pros, and people forget that. Most of the guys playing college basketball, except for a handful, are mostly fodder for the stars so that they could play and develop and do their thing. But a lot of them just aren't that good, and I think that that's the mistake. And Patrick Beverly definitely, gave Lonzo a rude awakening. I don't know if he was ready for it, if they had warned him, told him that what to expect or not, but I don't think he was ready for that, and it put him on his heels. So he's not as aggressive as people thought he would be or should be, and he's a little too laid back and passive. The NBA, everybody in the league is good. It's not like college where you play a lot of players who just aren't as good as you or aren't as talented as you. The NBA is filled with talented players, and you got to be ready every night.
Now, you talked about Ben Simmons being the favorite for Rookie of the Year right now. But Jason Tatum's been pretty good as well. But do you think Ben Simmons is still the runaway, or you think he's going to give him any competition for that at this point?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a layup or it's all over now after 15, 20 games, but I just think people kind of forgot about Ben Simmons because he was hurt last year and didn't play. And now to be able to see this guy play and the things that he can do. So I'm not saying it's all over and it's a, one horse race, but I think Simmons is living up to the hype that people had for him last year before he got injured.
Right. So as you know, Boston is on a 16-game win streak. They started out 0-2. Kyrie Irving's playing out of his mind right now. And then on the other end of the spectrum, Cleveland's been struggling a little bit. They got back on track within the past couple weeks. Do you think Boston has what it takes to beat Cleveland in a playoff series at this point?
Nope, I don't think so. Not when we talk about way at the end of the season when it all comes down to it. I just think, and it's not to take anything away from Boston. I was the one who hailed Kyrie for making that decision and making that move, and I thought that Boston won that trade. A lot of people didn't think so, and they thought Cleveland was fine. And the other part is, let's just be honest. Cleveland is without Isaiah Thomas. That's the other part of the trade. So Cleveland shouldn't be as good if you lose Kyrie and you don't replace him with Isaiah Thomas. So that's part of it. But I think people were way wrong on Kyrie about his ability to go to a team and be the guy. He's been playing phenomenal, and obviously the Celtics are winning, even though I don't even put that much stock into all that because the league is really bad, especially the East, and they should beat, these teams for the most part. I mean, they should. So I'm not that impressed by all that and think that Boston's going to win the championship and they're going to destroy Cleveland this year after the first 20 games. No, I don't think so. Let me see Isaiah Thomas return. Let me see that team with all the other pieces parts working. And at the end of the day, I still think Cleveland is going to be there in the finals with Golden State. Now, does that mean that's going to happen next year with Kyrie and Gordon Hayward when he's back and everything? Then all bets are off. But for this year, I still expect Cleveland to get it together, get Isaiah Thomas involved, and that team go to the NBA Finals.
Definitely. Now, another team that had a lot of hype coming into this season was the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're now 7-8, and they've been, you could say, they've been struggling lately. Do you think they have what it takes to turn it around and make a deep run into the playoffs?
I don't think so. That team, there's too many of the same guys there, and Russell Westbrook, who had an unbelievable season last year, doesn't know where he fits in and what he's doing, and trying to make everybody else happy. And I think that's the problem. It's just there's three guys there and one basketball, and I just think that that's the problem. Sometimes people think having too many people, you know what they say, too many cooks spoil the broth. I mean, I think that's what OKC is in this situation. You know, when they had Paul George and Russell Westbrook, people were already excited about that. I think the adding of Melo was too much, and I think that it's overboard, and that's why they've struggled. I think they got to try to find themselves. It might take them almost a whole year to kind of get situated and guys feel comfortable doing what they're doing. But I'm not convinced that that's all going to work there and that they got some deep run for the playoffs. I don't see that either.
To me, when that I thought the same thing when that team first got assembled, but I felt like they kind of tried to pattern their team after the way Golden State put three superstars on their team. But it's kind of like it's a different type of system in Golden State where guys are unselfish or guys are not volume shooters. Do you feel like they tried to kind of pattern themselves after Golden State, and that's why it failed because of the type of players they have in that system?
Yeah, because the idea that you have to have three, the big three, you know, that's always the situation. So I believe that that's why Melo was added. But also on OKC, those guys aren't great 3-point shooters. That's where the game has moved to. It's just a different kind of three guys put together, and I just don't think it really automatically fits. They're not going to be terrible. They'll make the playoffs. They'll win their share of games, but I just don't think it's going to ultimately work or be what people thought it would be.
New York native, Detroit guy. Pistons are currently the third seed in the Eastern Conference. What do you think has been the biggest reason for their success in this season? And do you think they can maintain their success that they've already accumulated during the season?
It's a long season. Again, they've had success. Drummond is much better than a year ago. I don't know, maybe something was going on last year. Reggie Jackson's playing better. Last year he was injured, if you remember, and they got off to a bad start. And when he came back, just didn't play well. I mean, it didn't even look like he might even come back this year, Reggie Jackson. And those two guys, if you remember earlier last season, played really well together. And then things fell off. So it's not totally a shock. Where they fit in, will they be the third seed? I don't really see that. I never pictured them being the third seed. They didn't make the playoffs a year ago. They will make the playoffs this year. And, Drummond is a big guy who can do a lot of things. And if he's playing well and making free throws, which he's doing much better this year, I mean, they could get in the way. They definitely could get in the way. I remember 2 years ago when they made the playoffs and people were talking about them being the eighth seed against Cleveland, and people were trying to tell me that they were going to be a problem for Cleveland. And of course they got swept in 3 games, but I still think that they can get in the playoffs and they can be better than that. And they can be higher in the playoffs than the eighth seed because they do have some talent.
Now, when you look at this team, they have good pieces. They have Drummond, who's a good center. They have Stanley Johnson, who's a good defender. Tobias Harris is a solid player. When you look at them, do you think that they can have any similarities to the 2004 Detroit Pistons in the near future?
I don't know. That was a special group, and I covered that team and watched every single game and was there every night at the Palace. And that team just defensively was unbelievable at how well they played together as a unit. I'm not ready to put them in that category yet, but if they have the passion and fire to play the defense that team played, then yeah, because that team, if you remember, beat the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe and Karl Malone and Gary Payton. It was unbelievable. It was the first 5-game sweep in the history of the NBA Finals, because the Lakers, you know, they won one game, but they really shouldn't have won that game. The Pistons should have won all 5 of the games that were played. So it's a nice comparison. I don't think it's there yet. Could it get there? Maybe. But that other team, the 2004, their slogan used to be going to work, putting on their hard hats and working hard, and that's something you got to keep working at to get to that level from 2004.
Right. Now, you wrote a piece for the Shadow League a couple of months ago about LeBron joining the Lakers, and it's going to be a bigger mistake than him leaving for Miami if he goes to the Lakers next season in free agency. Do you think there's anything that can keep him in Cleveland past this season?
Yeah, I think he can. If he could get some other players to come and just see what this team, the way it's set up. I mean, to go out west, you take a chance, you roll the dice, because the West is so tough. So I don't know. It's up to LeBron. Do you want to go out west and play for the Lakers, the upstart team, and have no shot to win or get to the NBA Finals or get knocked out in the first or second round? Is that what you're looking for? Or do you stay in the East where you know for the most part it's you, Boston, and maybe Washington or Toronto, and you still have a shot to get to the finals? And so I think LeBron at this late in his career would still want to be able to play for something, like to have a chance at winning a finals or upsetting somebody or doing something in that sense. I just think the West is a tough road. I'll still say I don't think he's coming west. I'll be surprised if he comes west.